Given India's health and social crisis, workplace financial well-being has emerged as a very critical aspect for organizations and even HR leaders today. Reports suggest around 52% of Indian employees think they're less efficient at work due to financial stress. Today, we're joined by Chitresh from Refyne, India's first and largest earned wage access platform, in this session, where he will share how employers and HR professionals can elevate workforce wellness with sound financial products like earned wage access. How EWA also reduces employees' financial strain, attracts and retains talent, and even enhances productivity. Efforts to inculcate community level well being with EWA can help the Indian workforce take advantage of a psychological safety net, reform their financial resilience, and even attain financial inclusion. Now, Chitresh is a serial entrepreneur. He previously co founded two ventures, Swiper in Glasgow in 2012 and Cloud9 Eye Solutions in Bengaluru in 2009. Chitresh's aim to establish a business that would leave a positive social impact specifically for the Indian population's personal finance led to the founding of Refyne, which is India's first earned wage access platform. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Chitresh.
Thank you, Genia, for
Chitresh, thank
an
you so
awesome
much for joining
introduction.
us here.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for the
so much.
introduction. You covered quite a lot. So thank you so much for giving outlay of what we'll be talking today about. I want to thank everyone who's watching today and taking the interest and time in what we call financial inclusion to the last mile. We believe that's one of it should be one of the fundamental rights, and I'm actually pretty chuffed to see so many of you willing to understand and curious to get into the details of it. So thank you everyone who's joined us this evening. We hope it's going to be a session that you'll all enjoy and learn something new. And I want to give a special thanks to our Refyne team who has worked day and night to make this conference success, and a massive shout out to People Matters team. So thank you so much, and we'll get on to the presentation. As my introduction, I'm a two-time founder, started Refyne. We started Refyne, actually it's born out of pandemic. We started this in November 2020, so it was the peak time, and I had come back to UK. I had 25 ideas, just like any budding entrepreneur. Been lucky to see a lot in UK and European market, and good hand on. So I have a 10 years experience in fintech industry. So bring a lot of experience. Sometimes can also give you more options. So after coming to India, I met my co-founder Purv, and we started with so many ideas and came down to this EWA idea. We believe that when we surveyed 10,000 plus people, and I spoke to them personally on the phone, started to become very clear. The problem was about people's understanding about their finances, the personal finances, and that's how Refyne was born. I've been blessed, and the team in having the best team we could dream of, because of which we've been able to achieve close to 300,000 employees already using Refyne. We're powering 300,000 employees in just less than 7 months of our launch, and we're partnered with hundreds of companies already. A big shout out to the brands that have trusted us with their financial wellness partner, and we've been lucky to get huge support for some of the global's biggest investors around the world. And as a Refyne, in just 7 months we have raised 24 million in equity funding and $300 million in debt line. So very chuffed and very blessed to see the support of the team, the brands, the employers, the HR leaders who have trusted us with what we are offering, and we are pretty excited to talk about it today. But more importantly, I wanted to bring some light on why was Refyne actually born. Before a company is born, before an idea comes to life, there needs to be a product market fit. And usually, if there is a product market fit, there has to be a problem that we should be solving. So it's connecting the dots backwards, and that's exactly what happened. When when I came to India, it was very clear that India, as a country, we all know in some context is a credit starved country, and very new to the credit system. So, and we're never taught personal finances or personal budgeting, whether it's the schools, the universities, no matter which education life we go through, it's never part of our curriculum. And that's why what we've found that after speaking to the 10,000 people coming from different TG profile, income groups, vertical, we found that majority of them, when they were, in between the month, they had mid-month crisis, and most of the time their mid-month crisis was in the fraction of their salary. Because of the limited credit scoring systems out there, they're forced to take money or help, from microfinancing apps, from payday lending apps, from loan sharks, and there are so many different avatars of these money lenders, and these people were forced to take more money for a much longer period of time. And what was very clear that these people ended up getting into debt trap, because who doesn't like more money? So if I went for 1,000, I was given 15,000, and people didn't really understand the consequences. The biggest thing that worried me, that these are working class people, they have a very good job, either they're working in corporate level or they're working on ground, and these people understand their job well, but they couldn't really understand the consequences of taking these credit instrument. And most of the credit instrument they've been trying was to calibrate their income expense cycle or have mid-month crisis, and because of that the situation actually starts getting worse, because banks are only focused on the premium segment, wherein the remaining 85% of the market is not the focus, which comes in the hands of money sharks and money lenders. And what happens is that this has, during this pandemic, it has exposed that 90% of those people were going through financial stress, right? They were stressed about paying their EMIs. They were stressed about what's going to happen the last week of every month, where their expense cycle won't match their income cycle, right? And they have no other way to calibrate but to go to these money lenders, and at the last resort was going to the employers for advances, because it's a kind of matter of dignity, right? You can't keep going to your employer or your HR or your company again and again every month for lifestyle expenses, and these are the expenses which are in volume. The ones that are significant in size are very infrequent. So it becomes very hard for them to manage that, and they're forced to go to the ODs of the world, or the credit cards of the world. Even though the circulation is super limited in the market, these people are forced to then start taking money from friends, family, and end up in that whole EMI trap month after month, which keeps deteriorating their situation. I mean, that's why credit cards actually makes huge sum, because they know most of them are revolvers and will continue paying high fee, or part of the credit they have taken. And all of us, I think, in the group, we believe that all the HR community have worked really hard, because this pandemic has been a one of its kind event that we'll probably see for the rest of generation. Is they worked really hard, but one thing has been exposed is that people are in financial stress, and the financial and their performance at work, their productivity at work, their irregularity behavior at work, their high absenteeism or high turnaround, high churn of employees, people looking for better income sources, is a big, the cusp of the problem was actually the financial stress that's happening in their brains, right? Which has been the root of every other illness that actually leads to these poor performance and distraction at work. Further to that, during pandemic, there have been a lot of surveys done, but one that really caught my eyes was that even the urban side of the market, right? 46 of them were more stressed about their financial health, because they were feeling that what do I mean it's actually very normal to feel that if you're going through a financial stress and you don't know how you're going to be paying your bills, you're going to be having a gap of 20-30% towards the end of the month. By the time you get your salary, how are you going to fill the gap? So how do you expect someone to actually be 100% at work? And that's when people start to defocus or deviate from their work life balance, and it's just a root for too many problems that all of us are trying to solve here, to be honest. And that is why EWA came up, right? What is EWA? EWA is earned wage access. It's a very prevalent concept in the markets like Mexico, Brazil, US, and UK. In fact, in US, 1 out of 4 employees are using an earned wage access platform. Now, we are delighted that we are the first one and the largest in Asia to bring earned wage access to India first. And the entire philosophy rotates around is how do we give the power of pay to people, right? How do we do it in a way that we don't penalize good behavior for bad behavior, what really happens in the microfinancing or payday lending life? How do we make it super transparent, and more importantly, how can that be a seamless experience? So I'll take a quick example to explain what EWA is. EWA is giving people the ability to access their earned wages, what they worked for, instantly. Now, for example, if I'm an employee at an employer and my salary is 30,000 rupees and I work for 10 days, and I have a requirement, maybe my daughter is ill or I have to emergency do a medical run, and I need money. So in this, the Refyne platform partners with the employer and gives an app to the employee where they can real time see their income, and they can access anywhere between 20 to 80% of their salary set by the employer in less than 60 seconds. Is that easy? So if I need money after working 10 days, I can access my earned wage in less than 60 seconds without any documentation, without any bureaucracy, and it doesn't matter when, right? This is a service that works 24/7, 365 days a year, right? The beauty is that people now can understand their income pattern. They know where not to spend or overspend because they're able to see those data on the app, and very importantly, access their earned wages instead of going to the credit cards or any other credit product, be it payday lenders, loan shark. It helps them calibrate their income and expense cycle, right, which has worked really well in similar geographies like Brazil and Mexico, and obviously has worked crazy in likes of US and UK, and that's exactly what we want to do it here in India. The beauty about this product is that it is India's first and only zero interest and zero processing product, right? We want to make sure that it's a very simple concept where people don't need to understand the complex percentage or the numbers behind the scene or the hidden terms and condition. So we wanted to make it very simple, and that is why we need the employer's trust, right? We believe that finance is equals to trust, and that is exactly why we partner with employers, we partner with brands around the country to help their employees realize that this is firstly a valid product. It's not too good to be true, which is most of the time the question we get, and it's not a loan because whatever employee is using gets auto deducted at the time of their payday, so they don't even need to remember when they have to pay, unlike other credit products. So that the simplicity and the experience is the most key part of the entire game, because we believe that if someone has worked for the number of days, in a way they have the right, and we want to partner more brands to make this as a market norm, right? And it happens very simply in three different, just 3 stages. They log into our app, they can see real-time salary, they can also manage their expenses accordingly, and they can access a percentage of their salary, and they can actually also choose whether they want that entire access or not. Someone's requirement is 3,000, they should go for 3,000. We never compel, or we would never influence them to take more money. So it's giving them the control of pay as you go, right? And we make sure that the entire fee structure is demolished with interest and processing fee and percentage, and it's a simple transaction fee which is as low as 9 rupees, just 2 cup of teas. So the idea is to make it very convenient, 30 seconds 60 seconds experience, and works anytime, right? Giving them the power and making them feel that they have a financial safety net to calibrate their income and expense, or any mid-month crisis, or even the lifestyle expense, which more and more people are tending to use credit product rather than they could have used their accrued salary and avoid debt traps. Now, how does really the EWA help? We've talked about how EWA has been helping the employees. How does it help brands? I mean, it's a platform. It's something that's been going in Australian market or US market, where people are paid by once in 2 weeks or weekly. But India, as in country, we know that the pay cycles rotate either 30 to 45 days, and it's down to the investment on technology and the payroll cycles and the working capital cycles. So even though the employees would love to do it, because most of the employees we have met, they're all about trying to protect the interest and the well-being of employees and improve it, right? So the motivation and intent is 100% there, and we are that plug and play partner and the technology and the financial partner that helps employers make this available to the employees. We help them create that financial safety net, right, for the employees to be able to use that. And that really helps employees feel that, yeah, my employer is an employee first company. It gives employers a much better view about their human asset around the company. It also gives them the ability to avoid having to have awkward questions or requests coming from employees for advances, where in somehow it does hit employees' dignity, because there's so many times they'll want to approach the employer for advances, and that is where we are trying to make sure that everything is automated, everything is seamless. The beauty is that the employer doesn't need to change their pay cycle. They don't, their amount doesn't changes, the technology doesn't changes, so their business runs the exact way it's running. But with an added layer of EWA, it's just more value for employees, helping them improve their financial habits, helping them avoid debt traps, helping them enhance personal finances. In fact, what we had also, one of the biggest objective we had was, we wanted to make sure that Refyne's app was non-discriminative in nature. So no matter whether you have zero CIBIL score or negative CIBIL score, it's open to everyone. As long as you're part of an employer group that we partner, it's open to everyone, and we've seen wide array of people using it across the company. So we make sure it's non-discriminative in nature, and it works throughout any, whether a company has an own role employees, off-role employees, vendor management. We can completely mirror the structure without having the employees change the technology, and that's how we want to make sure it's plug and play in nature. To give you some data point, actually we work with we are working with hundreds of brands, and early adopters are already seeing reduction of close to 50% in churn and irregular behavior since starting Refyne versus when the Refyne was not there. They can also see the behavior of Refyne app users versus the non-Refyne app employees. There is a massive difference between the attrition reduction and regularity difference in the nature of the employees. And to one big part, that we want this to be a product which brings financial freedom. We believe that's everyone's right, and we are working towards really hard to make sure it's spread across the community as wide as possible, and we're working day and night to make sure that it's done seamlessly, right? And that's why a lot of actually employers also use Refyne to help employees build their credit score. Every time an employee uses Refyne, their credit score with CIBIL improves, right? So even though an employee might not have any CIBIL score before Refyne, it helps Refyne helps the employees to build their CIBIL score. And we have also created an alternate IP protected credit score of our own, which will be launching soon, which allows employees to build their score by how they behave at work, how regular they are at work, what are the HR notes, how their career progression. So even if their CIBIL score is average or just building up, they can still use Refyne score to get much more tailored and personalized financial product, be it insurance, be it positive debt such as home loans, education loans, two-wheeler loans, or micro investment product. So the idea is that Refyne needs to be that one-stop shop for everything about positive financial product, giving more transparency on personal finances, helping people access their money, but also have a much brighter financial future. Like, that is the bigger game, that is very important, and that's the right we are fighting for. That everyone in our country, every employee, no matter which employer they're part of, should have the right to have a brighter financial future. And we believe that the current way, the way the credit scores work is very limited in nature, right? It's very limited. It takes people's past behavior as a symbol of their intent to pay in future, right? And we think that's a broken model, because a lot of people are new to credit system. They might not have that data points, and that's why we want to believe that how people behave at where the income is generating, which is their employment, should be the biggest indicator for their intent to pay, for their intent to use other financial product. And hence we are doubling down on our investment, making sure that EWA becomes the gateway to a brighter financial future for the employees of India. And we really want the support of likes of People Matters, likes of brands that have been onboarding and partnering with us. At the end, we want this to be the norm. We believe it's employees, right? And we know that employers want to give it to them and power that with them. And we just want to be the plug and play partner that can make it happen in the most seamless way possible. That's my presentation. I kept it sweet and short because it's end of the day and I wanted to make sure my message come across. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. That's EWA. I'm open to Q&A.
Thank you very much, Chitresh. That was a power packed presentation. We have a lot of questions here. I'm going to look at a couple of themes and club a few questions and ask you. So let's look
Sure.
at. We have a few questions from a gentleman called Ranjit Singh. So Ranjit Singh asks, what about some of the known EMIs already committed to the bank managed with this?
Sure. So that's a very good question, Ranjit. So that's why we have partners like employers. If not, we would have been a B2C company, but we are a B2B2C company. Is when we partner with the employees, we make sure that we take those data upfront. We understand what are the fixed obligation with the employees, and we make sure that the accessibility of earned wage access takes that into consideration. So hence it's never 100% of your earned wage access, and we make sure there's enough left for the employees to make sure they are able to pay those fixed bills.
Okay,
So we make sure that data
great.
is collected.
Okay, great. Let's see the question from Manikandan Sankaran, who asks, what is the difference between EWA and salary advance payment?
Okay. Wow. I can probably keep going on for the whole week if you have time. But the bigger difference is, salary advances are actually pretty much every brand we go, because we work in enterprise segments. We go partner with employees with 500 plus employees. Pretty much every 9 out of 10 employees will have a salary advance process in place, but most of those salary advance processes come with bureaucracy and minimum requirement and clear descriptions of why you can take salary advances, right? There are so many numbers of salary advances you can potentially take on the whole of year. You need to have a show for cause before salary advance is approved. And I've seen in companies, usually salary advance will, if the most optimized process, will take 24 hours to 48 hours. And that is exactly what we want to change, right? We are trying to give people the power of pay in 60 seconds. If I need the money and need to take my daughter to hospital, I don't have time to go through the bureaucracy. That's why they end up going to the external places. In fact, during the COVID times, we've seen people running for cylinders, and when they needed money now, right? And a lot of employers try to make it instant, right? Massive respect to that community. But no matter how we do it, because of the technology, the 60-second experience matter, right? And the whole thing can be done any number of times. So we don't restrict the number of transactions. So you can do it 5 times, you can do it 20 times a month, right? Not just a year. So it's about giving them the power to be able to use as they want, as the problem arises. And most of the salary advances masked as microfinance or third party app. I would totally say it's different, because it's microfinancing in the shape and form of salary advance, and they come with hefty interest, hefty processing fee, and other hidden fee. And that's exactly our fight against.
Great. So my follow-up question is from Sankar Suryan, who asks, will the employee have to pay back or will it be deducted from the salary?
Sure. So in pretty much every employer, we make sure that the integration is done automatically. Some of them who might not process it through ERP or HRIMS, we can basically do it manually, but it's always auto deducted at the time when the payroll is done. So the employee doesn't need to remember anything. So for an employer, it's a simple plugin. Reconciliation happens automatically, and the software that does the payroll knows exactly who has taken the money. So everything is done automatically. The employee doesn't needs to remember anything.
Okay, and I think Ranjit's question would be a good follow-up question. Will there be any TDS on this? What about statutory
Absolutely.
deductions?
So this is just like your CGHIS or LIC or Sodexo. There is no deduction. If at all there is more information, we'll love to share you. Is as per the Labor Act, past Labor Act, and the soon to come Labor Act, where deductions are allowed. In fact, we work with some of largest public sector units and a lot of state government, and they've been doing deduction, regularly by employees. So it's definitely consent driven, RBI compliance, labor law compliance, and deduction doesn't require any other tax. It doesn't attract any tax, either from employee or
Okay,
employer.
perfect. Okay, Piyush Jain has a question, Chitresh. Piyush asks, when you say you are zero cost, what is your revenue generation or monetization source to sustain your business model?
Sure. So that's a very good question. I kind of asked myself question before I was getting onto it. As if you remember, I did mention there's a small transaction fee as small as 9 rupees. So we have a slab based instead of making it complicated with interest or processing fee. We have slabs. So anyone who transact between 1,000 to 3,000, we charge a small fee. Anyone from 3,000 to 6,000, or anyone from, for example, if you transacted 20,000 rupees, we'll be charging you 149 rupees. But that's upfront deducted by the employees, and the remaining is transferred. So I mean, even though we don't like people to do the maths of having to go through the percentage calculation, but the weighted average comes around to 7.58%, which is one fourth of the most optimized credit card you can get in the market.
Okay, fantastic. That answers that. Okay, now I have an anonymous person who asks, what are the financial implications for the organization if they have EWA?
So for the organization, as I said, this is the beauty. There is zero cost, zero obligation. The entire risk sits with us. There will never be a cost attached to the employer who we partner now. So you'll not be paying us anything, or even if for reasons in some industry we have a large fleet of people. We work with employers which have 70, 80,000 employees, and their churn is as high as 100% annualized. So in that case, we make sure that there is never an obligation from an employer's perspective to pay for the dues. If an employee absconds or FNF takes place, you have the right to deduct first. And the second right is the statutory deduction. If anything is left, we get it. If not, we do not have a collection team, and that default will sit on our books. So the employer doesn't have to bear any consequence or financial crisis because of us.
Okay, so Chitresh, I know a lot of questions, but thank you for patiently answering them. I have 1.5 minutes left, so I'm going to go with one last question. Piyush Jain, what is the source and how much is the sample size for the surveys quoted?
So the source is actually done by our internal team. So the sample size was 10,000 employees across different sector, private, public sector, and we can obviously share anonymized data on that, which probably is on our website already. But there are also different sources which we can share, which also kind of relate to the results we found. So there's a combination of our internal and external party, which we can happily share with People Matters and on to you.
Okay, then, Chitresh, I think that's it for today. Lot of takeaways. What a fantastic session. Thank you so much for taking us through this fantastic process, and thank you for patiently answering all the questions, Chitresh.
Thank you. You've been an amazing audience. Thanks for asking. Either you get too many questions, that means you're doing well. If you don't get any questions, sometimes that's a bad idea. So thank you so much for making it so interactive. And thanks for the introduction. Thanks, People Matters team, for having me here and Refyne here. Lovely to partner with you guys and look forward for our next conference already.
Our pleasure, Chitresh. Thank you very much for being here. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to see you at the finance session for today. See you there.